Welcome to the Money Marketing Podcast. Get ready to explore the exciting world of financial advice as we embark on this special series exploring the very best in the industry. We'll be shining a spotlight on past winners of the prestigious Money Marketing Awards, sharing their stories and insight. Plus, we'll be gearing up for this year's highly anticipated award ceremony. Get inspired, gain valuable knowledge, and don't forget to secure your place at this year's unmissable event. Hello and welcome to the Money Marketing Awards podcast. I'm Kimberly Dondo, and in today's episode, I'm joined by Gee Footit, Senior Manager Partnerships at St. James's Place Financial Advisor Academy. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me, Kimberly.
So we've spoken before, but we're speaking on a different kind of basis today, talking about your win at the 2023 Money Marketing Awards. But if you could just give us a bit of a background into yourself and also SJP's Financial Advisor Academy, that would be great.
Sure. So I've worked at SJP coming up for 6 years now, and I've worked both as a recruitment manager and now, as you said, one of the sort of marketing managers, if you like, and I look after our strategic partnerships, recruitment partnerships. So working with commercial businesses, looking for talent, basically. So some of my partnership include buckets of people who are coming from things that are obvious when people need to retire early, such as sport, or people who are actively looking for a new career, like women returners, for example. So I look after all of our recruitment partnerships in that sense. And SJP Academy is a retraining opportunity. It's designed for predominantly second careerists, but we're seeing the profession move towards, attracting talent from that first careerist demographic as well, which is really positive. And it's a really structured program to help people go from either qualified or non-qualified. So we can help people get the exams and the qualifications required, then the skills they need to give advice. And then our academy continues to support people through while they're out there giving advice to clients up to a point where their business or their advice within somebody else's business is in a sustainable place for them.
Okay, fantastic. And as I mentioned before, you did win Best Advisor Academy at our awards last year. So tell us what your initial reaction within the academy was when you got that win.
Well, I've got a big smile on my face, and I know people won't be able to see that because this is an audio recording, but absolutely delighted. We were thrilled because the Academy at SJP has been running since 2012. And every single year we learn from what's going on, we learn from feedback, and we make changes. So it's something that we're really proud of and invest a lot of energy, time and money into to make sure that our academy is, we believe it's the best in the profession, but it was really great to get an external recognition from yourselves as well. So we were absolutely thrilled.
Yeah. And in a field dedicated to shaping the future advisors, what do you believe sets your academy apart and makes it truly exceptional?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there are a few different things. I think, first of all, it's comprehensiveness. So I don't believe there are any other academies supporting people for as long as we do. So we now have a 6-term program which supports people for their first 4 years in giving advice. But what we don't want to do is confuse people to say it takes that long to become a financial advisor. Absolutely not. Depending if you have the qualifications or not, your learning, your downtime is either 3 or 6 months. Then you're out there giving advice, as I say, under that supervision. But we continue to support people through terms 3 and 4 when they're out there giving advice, and now 5 and 6. And as I say, it's that building on their skills, building on their knowledge across each of those terms to a point where their business is sustainable and they're earning a really great living for themselves. I think the second thing is the quality of the training. Again, invested so much time, energy and effort in making sure that what people learn when they're with us is second to none. We've got 16 trainers dedicated to delivering the workshops in those first 6 months I spoke about. We've got in-person peer groups. We've got development managers across the country that can meet you locally. And in the last 12 months since we won the award, we've made over 700 updates to the program. So that just gives you an indication of the level of dedication we have to making sure it stays up to date. And then the final thing I think that really sets us apart is the support that we can offer. So I've mentioned the length of time that we support you for, but that support is very much high touch. So our academy development managers and our growth and development managers have a very low number of people that they look after, which means they can give them a lot of their time. And I think that really does set us apart.
Mm-hmm. And beyond technical skills, how does your academy foster personal and professional growth necessary for advisors to build successful and fulfilling careers? A lot of people have been talking about the importance of those like soft skills that most people innately have. Is there a way that you develop that as well?
Absolutely. So there's lots of different ways that we develop that. But for us, a lot of the important work happens before they join us. So our recruitment process is very much getting to understand the individual, and we're looking for key traits. So what we're not looking for is a translatable CV, somebody who's had financial services experience. 60% of the people that come to our program have no financial services experience at all. So we're really looking for those traits that we believe will make people successful, and also making sure that they're fitted into the right place for them to thrive. So when people come through our program, they have the opportunity to either start their own advice business, but that's not for everybody. So we have the opportunity for people to join one of our existing practices as an advisor. And there's quite an exact science to getting that fit right. So we've invested a lot of time, energy, and learning over the years to make sure that that's a good fit. So just to give you a couple of acronyms and fun things that we have in terms of our own internal language, we've got an acronym that we describe as PRIDE, which are the key traits that we're looking for in somebody. So that's personal impact, resilience, integrity, drive and determination, and emotional intelligence and empathy. So those are key traits that you could have coming from any profession. So those are the key things we're looking for in our conversations with people. And then in terms of finding that right culture fit for them, if they are joining a practice, well, we need to make sure it's the right advisor joining the right business. Have they got the right plan together? Is the right support in place? And of course, the training that we provide through the academy is also very important. So we've really got a science process, if you like, involved to really trying to make sure we've got the right person, the right environment for them to thrive. But the other thing I think that SJP does is look at learning through a lens of a growth strategy, as opposed to it being a cost to a business. So we really have invested in the academy as a growth strategy. And without it, we wouldn't be where we are today. Over the last 12 years, over 1,300 people have joined our partnership coming through our academy program. That's like roughly a quarter of our partnership. So we really have invested lots of time, energy, and money in making sure that it is a growth strategy that means success for SJP.
Mm-hmm. And can you share a bit about the specific curriculum, training, or methods, and also the mentorship program that your academy utilizes to equip aspiring advisors with the knowledge and skills they need to thrive?
Yeah, let me start at the top then. So I've mentioned these terms. We have, as I say, now 6 terms, structured 6-term process for somebody to go through. So term 1 is all about getting qualified. Some people actually join us already qualified. I would fall into that category. So I'm level 4 qualified, but I've never given advice before. I would therefore join at term 2. So term 2 is all the soft skills and other things that you need to be able to sit down in front of a client on the day 1 of term 3 with confidence. So you've practiced this, you understand the regulatory landscape, you understand the information you need to gather from the client, and you want to make that feel really nice and personable, as opposed to, oh, I've got a form to fill in, I'm now on question 23, like it doesn't want to feel like that to the client.
Yeah.
So term 1 and 2 are the downtime, if you like, the training that you need. So term 3, we are then out seeing clients. There's lots of help and support and supervision from academy development managers who are CF30 registered. So they're all registered with the FCA themselves. They are sitting in the client meetings with them in the early stages. And if they need to lean in and in the early stages of somebody's learning, they can do. But really what they're there for is to provide feedback for them afterwards. So term 3 is all about getting to competent advisor status, which is an industry or a term in our profession. And then finally, term 4 is building, as we say, to that sustainable point. And as a rule of thumb, this is very much a rule of thumb, not a target. Sustainability often can mean having a number of clients that you look after. So by the end of term 4, we're aiming, rule of thumb, for about 50 clients for that person before they leave the academy development managers and they move into term 5 and 6, which is our growth and development managers. And our growth and development managers have a slightly different skill set to the academy development managers. They are all ILM level 5 qualified. So they move much more into a a coaching environment or a peer-led group. And by the end of term 5 and term 6, ideally, as I say, as a rule of thumb, we're looking for that person to have around 100 clients, because we know that means they're a sustainable business, they're set for success. They can move into our partnership where that higher touch, I mentioned in the first 5 terms, 6 terms, you've got that high touch. You then move to the partnership where you still have a development manager, but they'll just look after a few more people and probably be able to invest slightly less time with you. So we don't want them to do that until they're really ready to do that in terms of their own finances. So that's the curriculum, and that works really, really well. We have a real blended approach in terms of people's learning. So there's very much a digital footprint. Term 1 in terms of the exam qualifications is very much online, but with lots of exam and real person drop-in sessions, exam cram days, making sure we get you through the exams. Term 2 is much more skills-based. There's a bit more in-person training in the middle of the country in Bristol, but also locally. So your development manager will live geographically pretty close to you, so you can get together, you can practice your role plays, etc. And then, as you mentioned, mentorship, really important. So people have those 2 routes to come out the academy, either having their own business or working within a practice. Often, if you're joining a practice, the person who's taking you on in their business wants to mentor you and nurture you. But if you're starting a business, we didn't want those people to miss out on that opportunity too. So we have a culture where people want to give back, and often it's people that come through the academy 2, 3 to 5 years later, who want to give back and become a mentor for somebody on the program. And we find that they are the most beneficial mentors to have, because they've been through the experience recently. They know what they had to do, which means success. But for somebody starting their own business, they get to shadow somebody, go and work in their business, be in the client meetings with that person, understand how their back office systems are set up, etc. And we find that that mentorship and opportunity to shadow real working financial advisors makes a really big difference.
Mm-hmm. And I wondered if you had any specific anecdotes from recent graduates of your academy that exemplifies the impact of your training and made a positive difference in the lives of their clients.
Yeah, so a couple of people spring to mind that I know personally. So this is sort of, I guess I'm sort of understand their personal journeys. So one is Natasha Percy Baxter. Now, she came to our academy program 3 to 4 years ago, and if anybody wants to look her up, you can look her up on the Financial Planner Life podcast, which is a third-party podcast, and she shared a story quite early on, and also this year she's sort of 3 years in. And I think what stands out about Natasha is her self-awareness. So when she was joining the program, she really invested in the onboarding process and really did a lot of work on herself to understand why she thought financial advice was a great career for her. And then since joining, she's taken on board feedback. She's got out of her own way and she's got on with what we suggested. And I think she did something like 77 networking events in her first year.
Whoa.
And a lot of people feel a little bit nervous about, imposter syndrome, going to a networking event with their new shiny financial advisor hat on. Well, she just went for it. And now she really understands what networking events she enjoys. So she goes to those ones more often, and what ones didn't work for her. And without the real life experience, how can you really ever say that? You can shy away and say it's not for me, but you don't really know unless you've done it. So Natasha's a shining example of somebody who has really understood herself, taken on board what's on offer here, asked for help when she's needed it, and taken action. And she started her own business. And then another example of somebody who has impressed me so much is a young man by the name of Dylan. And he came through the paraplanner route. So he started off as an administrator in the profession, age 18 years old, on a £14,000 salary. He progressed up through his own hard work, did the exams and became a paraplanner. And then the business he was a part of ended up joining St James's Place, which gave him an opportunity to become an advisor himself through our academy program. Fast forward today, he's 26 years old and he's earning north of £100,000 per year at such a young age. And I just think he's a shining example. And actually, Dylan's recently been interviewed on an external podcast as well. And he's actually got an amazing story of adversity where he has been through a lot in his young life. And I think the thing that stands out to me, maybe similar to Natasha, is his level of self-awareness and belief in himself and determination. And he hasn't seen what's happened to him. I mean, of course, it's a negative, some of the things that have happened to him, but he spins it in a positive light that says, I've actually got some real life experience. So I can understand the clients who sit in front of me really well because I can relate to them in certain ways. And he's just a really impressive young man. But I think both of them are an example of, with the right support around them, you can thrive. So long as you're determined yourself as well, then it really is an environment where you can thrive.
Yeah, definitely. And as a leader in advisor development, where do you see the industry heading in terms of skills and qualities needed for the next generation of advisors to succeed? I know that you said that you're starting to look more into those first careerists as opposed to the second careerists who may be pivoting, but I'm sure, now we're looking at a lot of, A-level graduates who are rethinking going to uni because the cost just doesn't seem worth it to end up like me, not using that first degree that you got.
Yeah, you choose those subjects at such a young age, don't you? And I think it's important to choose something that you're really interested in. But my niece just got her A-level results, and she's also managed to land herself an apprenticeship job, so she's not going to be going to university. And I know that that's right for her. I actually chose to do that as well at her age, and I recently studied a degree whilst working here at SJP. Did a master's degree in my 40s. So, you don't have to do certain things when we think we have to do them at certain ages. So I really think that we have become a profession. We've moved away from being an industry where people sell products to people to being a really highly regulated profession. And I think part of that is the fact that we can stand shoulder to shoulder with other professions like accountancy and surveyors, where, you can become chartered and people understand the hard work that you've put in to become a chartered, whatever you want to be, accountant, surveyor or financial advisor. But also now we are creating those clear tracks to run on for people. So whether they be first careerists, second careerists, third careerists even, there is a route to becoming a successful financial advisor, a route to become chartered. And I think that just makes us stand out shoulder to shoulder with those other professions, which is great.
Yeah, definitely. And how is your academy adapting and innovating to ensure that your graduates are not only prepared for the challenges of today, but also equipped to navigate the evolving landscape of financial advice in the future?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one, isn't it? And we're living through lots of change, and I keep seeing, lots of interesting external podcasts, not necessarily about our profession, but about the rate of change. It's never been faster, and it's never going to go any slower. So the rate of change is here to stay, and the speed at which is obviously speeding up too. But I think some things that we can see, like market and societal shifts. What do people want? How do they want to access the information? So we've seen, the rise of apps and things like that. And SJP's invested a lot of money in its client app. I love mine. I love, being able to tap on my phone and look at the performance of my investments and things. And I think that's great. Digital tech enablers, AI, that's something that isn't going away. And often we get asked in our recruitment process, are digital advisors going to overtake? And I genuinely don't believe it will. And we haven't seen any of those platforms have real success to date, because I believe the real personal intricacies of face-to-face financial advice, a robot can't read you if you're feeling a bit nervous and you're shifting around in your seat when you talk about a certain subject, and it can't understand, really your attitude to risk on investments and things like that. But what we have invested in is technology using AI, which helps build efficiencies into the financial advisor's business model, which means they can spend more time with their clients. So we have a thing internally called advice assistants, which helps them write reports, etc. So I think it's important to invest in such technology. Client offerings. So what are we seeing out there in the marketplace? What does the market want and need? We are seeing increasing affluence and wealth, and making sure we've got the right offering for those clients is really important, but also the right tools to help explain things to clients. So I think cash flow modeling, helping people visualize what their plan actually looks and feels like, is super important. And then finally, sort of government, regulatory activism. So making sure we're keeping up with all of those changes. We've got a new government. We'll see what comes down the line with them. But regulatory changes such as consumer duty, which is very much, evidence-based reviews and things. It's making sure as a business we've invested in the right technology to enable our people to have access to that, to evidence all the great advice that they're giving to clients. And we transitioned onto Salesforce some years before consumer duty. So anyone new into the profession and joining St James's Place knows that they've got a back office system that's up to the job. So I think those things are really important for people to know.
Yeah. When it goes to the AI conversation, I always say that the same way that you wouldn't go to an online platform or an AI for if you have any symptoms and you're going to the doctor, or if you need a counselor because you're having, a mental health crisis or something like that. I think financial advisors fall into that kind of personable career category where you need that person, you need that interaction. So that is something that will never go away. And yeah.
They sitting in front of a person can look at you holistically and your family versus you're sitting in front of a computer and it's got set questions it's asking you. It might not ever know about an inheritance that's coming down the line, or I don't know, that you did have financial hardship growing up and therefore your tolerance of risk is much lower than others. So a computer's not going to be able to read and understand those things. And I think it's really important that we make sure that personal face-to-face financial advice remains.
Yeah, definitely. I think it will always be here. But how do you foster strong relationships with financial firms and create opportunities for your graduates to launch successful careers, whether that be starting their own business or, joining another firm?
Yeah, now that's really interesting. So SJP has an internal partnership or community of 2,666 businesses. And as I said at the beginning, we've learned from 12 years since we've launched the academy, and those people coming through either start their own business and become, another one in our partnership, or they join one of those existing businesses as a financial advisor. And so for us, it's really important, as I said at the beginning, is finding the right opportunity for somebody, but also making sure the person that joins that business is going to be a good fit for them. It might be that they need a female advisor because the rest of their advisors are men, for example. So our recruitment managers across the country have a dual purpose, a dual role. They need to understand our businesses in the partnership to make sure that they're matching them with the right opportunities and the right people, as much as they are finding the right talent. And it's a really integral part of their role to do that. There's lots of different opportunities. And actually what we found is just because you're a successful business owner doesn't necessarily mean that you're really great at being a mentor or nurturing somebody or having the time to do that as well. So again, having the academy work in tangent with the businesses to bring that new talent through enables the people with the businesses who have people joining them to continue to spend as much time as they possibly can in front of their clients. So it's not necessarily an easy task when you've got a small to medium business to do that.
And I wonder if you could impart some advice on anyone who may be listening to this or may come across this at some point and they're considering pursuing a profession in financial advice. What would your advice be to that person, whether they are considering going through SJP's academy or, looking into how they can get into it?
There's lots of different routes now, which is fantastic. And we're here, we've been doing it the longest, but as you know, we like to share information to help other people, other businesses to be successful, because we can't grow the profession on our own. But if I were out there looking for what to do next, I would probably pick the one that invested the most in me and could support me through my journey the longest. Now, I know that I kind of say that from a position of power because we can do that, but that's what I would do. But ultimately, you've mentioned, Kimberly, the mentorship. I think that's really important. So no matter who you're joining, just make sure there is somebody there who understands the level, the time invested in you to make sure that you can be successful. And don't be scared to ask questions around that.
Yeah. Always ask questions. I always say that you actually hinder yourself if you act like you're the smartest person in the room. I find acting like the person who's the most clueless in the room has always been such an advantage for me in picking up new information, new little tidbits. So yeah, never be afraid of being that person. I do think it's actually a powerful position to be in.
Love that.
Yeah. And finally, in your view, what role do industry awards like the Money Marketing Awards play in recognizing excellence in advisor development and promoting the importance of investing in the future of financial advice as a profession?
Well, if you think of the last decade, how do people make decisions now? They're often looking for those reviews, aren't they? Whether it be TripAdvisor or on Amazon, how many stars have they got? And I really do feel like awards form part of people's research and due diligence before they make a big decision. You know, retraining as a financial advisor is often a big decision for either an individual or their whole household. So making sure that you've done the due diligence. And we're delighted that Money Marketing are the only trade magazine that hosts awards to help generate the future lifeblood of our profession, creating more advisors and awarding those who are doing the most about it. So we're super grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, fantastic. And hope for way more awards in the future.
Absolutely.
But thank you so much for speaking with me today, Gee. This was a really great conversation.
Thank you. Lovely to be here.
Thanks for tuning into this episode of the Money Marketing Podcast. We hope you've been inspired by the incredible journeys of our past award winners and are looking forward to the excitement of the 2024 Money Marketing Awards. Don't forget to subscribe for more valuable industry insights and be sure to secure your spot at this year's event. See you next time.